Okay, so yeah, as we delve into these episodes of Moon Knight, I don't think I'm really going to be able to cover them the way I've done before, where I can give my overall thoughts and then do a big spoiler section. Basically, in this case, we're going to have kind of spoiler-heavy plot summaries, and then I'll try to give my overall thoughts on each episode. So, okay, first we'll do episode 3, like I said, plot summary, and then my thoughts, and then we'll be a break, and there'll be episode 4, plot summary. You can do the rest right there, okay? Okay, so, alright, moving on to episode 3 of Moon Knight, the friendly type. I think this episode did a lot better picking up from the first 2 episodes, which I had so many problems with. I think in this case we did a lot more character building. Basically, the overall plot thread in this is Mark Spector is now in Egypt, as Harrow and his group are, using the Scarab to locate Amit's tomb. And he's trying to basically locate them, but also fight through a lot of Harrow's minions who are plotting around every corner trying to kill him. He's asked to work with Khonshu, who occasionally, comes into possession of Mark, and has no problem with killing, but that upsets the Steven personality of Mark's mind, and so from there, we have a lot of clashing there. Added to that, Layla is on both of their tails. Though at some point we'll get more into what's going on with her when that happens. Anyway, finally, after accidentally killing the lead in this case, because Steven took over, not wanting to kill, but not knowing how to properly torture information out of them, so he wound up accidentally killing them. Mark finally turns to Khonshu and just said, can't you ask the other Egyptian gods for help? And it's kind of the idea that Khonshu is kind of on the outs to the other gods. There are a few who basically just kind of ascended to another place and, wash their hands of Earth. There are still a few others who have their own avatars, much like how Harrow is the avatar of Amit, and before that he was an avatar of Khonshu. And so it's like, to ask them, you could, if they agree with you, they'll, you'll be okay, but if they disagree with you, you could get in a lot of trouble, and, I could wind up entombed. But, finally Khonshu relents, and he causes a solar eclipse, which cheeses the gods off, because that's, that was the best way he could contact all of them. And so this kind of little trial is held in a temple where the various avatars show up. Steven is a kind of freshly new avatar of Khonshu, so he doesn't really know how all of this works. It's not Steven, it's Mark Spector at this point. Yeah. Sorry, you're going to hear me using several different names to describe one guy. Anyway, as this happens, obviously Harrow also shows up to defend his point, and ultimately, it doesn't really work. The other gods aren't really going to help him. However, one avatar, the avatar of the god, I think it's Hathor, basically kind of nudges Mark in the direction of the sarcophagus of I believe was an alchemist, an Egyptian alchemist who was apparently a follower of Amet. I'm not entirely sure. Sometimes the audio gets really garbled in this show. It's like, if you're not focusing 100% on everything, you can kind of miss things at times. But she nudges Spectre in that direction, and lo and behold, at that point, he gets reunited with Layla, who just happens to be waiting right in the middle of the black market. Okay. And we sort of get a little bit of implication here, because at some point, Harrow again kind of confronts them and makes allusions to Mark having a big secret, which I'll get to that in the 4th episode, where, because that's where Layla sort of plays out a bigger role there. But, but because Layla just happens to know the guy who has this, the sarcophagus of this alchemist, I think his name was Shanshu, the alchemist's name. The guy who has it is Mulgart. And I know he's a character from the comics. So they go to visit them, and basically, the Steven persona has to take over at this point, because he can actually translate the hieroglyphs. And they point to this star map that's on these I try to think of their papyrus scrolls, let's just say that. And, they have to use this, and that causes a big scuffle. Moon Knight, has to suit up again to to defeat Harrow's forces, who are trying to also take these things to keep, not because they've already found the tomb, but they're trying to obviously keep Mark and Layla away from it. And as this is happening, it turns out though, because, you know, these things were done, you know, tens of thousands of years ago. I think it was 2,000. Let me take a quick little gander here. It's let's see. It's Stephen. Yeah, that's episode 4. Okay, sorry. It's, yeah, I think it's like 2,000. Yeah, it's 2,000 or 2,000 years, you know, have passed since these things were made, and so, you know, the stars have actually shifted a little bit. So they're maybe not in the exact position that they can be, where they can see them. So Khonshu has to use his power once again to basically turn back the sky to the right time to figure out how they can line up to find the tomb. And that cheeses the Egyptian gods off again, that they wind up imprisoning Khonshu and cutting Spectre off from him. And from there, you know, because he gets cut off, Steven / Mark Spector collapses in the desert, and he's having trouble keeping consciousness because he no longer has a connection to Khonshu, and that's how the episode ends. Whew, okay. A lot to cover there. Like I said, overall, though, like I said, I think the episode was actually really a lot better than the first two. There's a lot of good character building moments in this. We do get a bit better explanation for Mark's dissociative identity disorder, as while he's talking with Layla, he acknowledges that, you know, Steven was always kind of a part of him, and that, but he thought he had it under control, and then suddenly something had happened to possibly because he'd been working with Khonshu that caused Steven to reawaken and you know, do what happened in the first 2 episodes basically, and run away from Layla and forget who she was. And, you know, he does sort of apologize for it, but however, again, when they meet Harrow, and there's a kind of this, Harrow starts implying things like, you know, Spectre never told you about his past, you know, what he did, and, you know, yeah, we'll get, like I said, we'll get to that more in episode 4, but yeah, they're obviously implying that Layla is supposed to be like another character from the Moon Knight comics, who you might remember if you watched my Essential Moon Knight review. We get into that character quite a bit. And from there, so yeah. Like I said, overall, I really didn't I like the interactions with Khonshu and Steven and Mark and everything. Like, that actually worked out really well, and you start to realize, like, oh, you know, if they just work together, they could actually, you know, make a better change than just constantly being at each other's throats and lucking into the situation sometimes. So, again, we definitely get a better storyline advancement in this episode. So that's why I am going to be giving episode 3, The Friendly Type, an A. So yeah, like I said, definitely picks up a lot better. Like, it doesn't quite make up for all the faults, but I think it works better at telling that story.
Someday I'll fight evil. Whoa!
Are you ready to be an Avenger? To be an Avenger, you must be strong, smart, quick, and true. Avengers assemble! Avengers! Ultron's cannon lights up. A is for action. Wonder Man's ready. Ant-Man's mini-jet is set for action. Ant-Man extends. Captain America's droid explodes.
My shield will protect the Avengers. Take that, Ultron.
The Sky Cycle soars into battle. Falcon, surprise attack.
This bird brain.
Hawkeye's quick-draw arrow will punish evil.
Ah!
The Avengers, united they stand. Each sold separately.
This is it. The Avengers. Is that... Hey, what's this do?
New Baron's Best from Red Baron. With a hand-tossed style crust. Delicious. Just got legendary.
This is awesome.
New Baron's Best from Red Baron. Taste the legend.
1 second.
See Marvel's The Avengers in theaters May 4th.
Alright, we are now at episode 4 of Moon Knight, The Tomb. Not to be confused with the Doctor Strange device known as the Wand of Watum. That's a completely different thing. But it sounds like tomb, it has tomb in it, so yeah, I guess you get that. Sorry, I couldn't help just find that a little funny. Anyway, basically at this point, like I said, Khonshu has been locked away. Briefly, Harrow has showed up to kind of taunt Khonshu a little bit. and say that the world deserves this. And basically, it's the idea. We get more into Layla's character as well, where the idea was her father was an Egyptologist who believed that the gods still walked among them, and obviously, Hera wants to kind of do that again and have the gods control the earth. I guess not remembering that there are other gods and other cultures than Egypt, but okay. Anyway, yeah. So the theme in this case is Stephen is in control. Hera's forces are chasing Stephen and Layla down. And Stephen is in control of pretty much all of this episode. But you can't use Khonshu anymore, so you can't transform into Mr. Knight. So, yeah. When Mark transforms, he transforms into Moon Knight. When Stephen transforms, he transforms into Mr. Knight. The suit wearing and the light mask over the face instead of the cape and everything. And from there, Hera's forces try to chase them down. Layla has to use her wiles to try to fight them off because Stephen is just of no use. And at this point, Stephen also says, Spectre and I had a deal that once he was no longer connected to Khonshu, I wouldn't let him back at all. So that's not going to happen, so I'm not letting him back. And it's like, Mark Spector is like, this is where it gets so confusing sometimes. Yeah, is like, hey, no, this is an extenuating circumstance. You can't just let me go. You're going to need to, because you can't fight, I can at least. But Stephen is still needed to translate and find his way through because of his knowledge of Egyptian history, basically. And again, we get a bit more implications as to what happened with Layla and her father. And let's kind of get the big spoiler out of the way. I have one of the big spoilers. Yeah, basically Layla is Marlene. Like I said, if you remember my Essential Moon Knight review, Marlene was the girlfriend of Stephen Grant, aka Mark Spector, in the comics, because her father was an Egyptologist and for some reason ran afoul of Mark Spector's mercenary group and was killed, but Spector tried to work in to save him, and that's basically what happens here too. They don't use the name of the character in the comics because it's a kind of racially insensitive name. I won't use it. I won't use it here, but yeah, they used a different name, I think. I didn't quite catch it, but yeah. But again, it's the idea of, Mark turned on them, he got shot, and that's kind of how he became the avatar for Khonshu. Khonshu resurrected him. However, there's also the ulterior fear that apparently Layla could also be in line to become an avatar of Khonshu, and that's why Mark has distanced himself from her. And that could be also what allowed the Stephen persona to wake up a bit more. However, as this is happening, as they're working their way through a tomb, and then they start hearing gunshots because it's Hera's people, we then see what appears to be a recently resurrected mummy character performing a mummification ritual on one of Hera's followers, cutting out his tongue, cutting out several other organs. They do their best to try to avoid him. They get separated. Layla gets pushed into this, gets chased into this room with the bottomless pit. Eventually a mummy grabs her, but she breaks free, and then Hera is standing there, and he basically says, hey, that secret Mark has been keeping from you? Yeah, he killed your father. Mark later clarifies that no, he did not kill her father. He tried to save him, but he tried to save everyone, but the group just swooped in, and there wasn't much that can be done. He tried to get them to run, and they just wouldn't for some reason. And anyway, as this is all playing out, Stephen is wandering through the tomb, and he finally starts to piece together whose tomb this is. It's actually, it's Amet's tomb, but in this case, Amet was entombed with her avatar at the time, which was Alexander the Great. Completely ignoring that Alexander the Great died in Babylon and was probably buried in Babylon, not Egypt. I get the idea. Yeah, okay, it's at least a big it's a well-known figure in, well, the history of that part of the world, essentially. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, you're not exactly correct there in your history, buddy. Still, yeah, definitely some interesting points raised up there. Anyway, he does eventually find where the prison is for Ahmet. The Ashanti statues are where they're in prison, basically. And he finds it quite literally in Alexander the Great's throat. Peachy. And it's then that Layla, Harrow, and everyone confront him. However, Layla manages to get out with the Ashanti statue before anyone can find her. Yeah. And Stephen tries to fight them off, but, Harrow just shoots Stephen a couple times. He falls into this pool, and then suddenly, actually it's Spectre at this point. And Mark Spector wakes up in an insane asylum. So we're delving into that point of the comics too. There was a big comic I didn't read it, unfortunately, so I can't say with 100% certainty everything that happened there. But yeah, there was a big comic story that was set in an insane asylum where Mark was dealing with all his separate personalities were also there. And it turns out Stephen Grant was like the character of these like really cheesy, low budget, wannabe Indiana Jones-esque adventure movies that he grew up watching the videotape for. An old videotape of one of them that was his favorite. And Harrow is like, the chief doctor at this place. And Layla is also a patient there, as well as the one follower who got killed earlier. And Stephen I keep saying Stephen, it's Mark, sorry. Mark kind of realizes something's going on here. Like, no, this shouldn't be. And he tries to get up and run away. He runs through the halls of the hospital. He finds a sarcophagus where inside Stephen is there, and they can both see and interact with each other and hug and high five and stuff. And they're like, what's going on? Like, this doesn't make any lick of sense. Where are we? And they start running around, and then they bump into Ahmet, who's surprisingly cheery, says hi, and that's how the episode ends. Yeah, this episode, again, I think did better world building than the first two episodes did. It definitely did some better characterization, I think, too, where there's some good banter between the personas, and, I think it did a better job of building out Layla's character a little bit. She was kind of uninteresting. I don't know why they couldn't call her Marlene. I don't know why we had to call her Layla for some reason. Okay. If you want to do Marlene, just do Marlene. I don't know. There's now a possibility, too, that the other personalities like Jake Lockley could show up. I definitely want to see where this is going now. It's definitely piqued a bit more of my interest. I am excited to see the newer episodes. These two episodes did a much better job. Like I said, I kind of wish, maybe they had just done away with a part of that and, like so much of the loopiness of the first two episodes and just kind of gotten right straight to it. Like this did a better job than, like I said, these two episodes are better introduction episodes than the introduction episodes. So yeah, like I said, this one maybe wasn't as good as the third one though. There's a lot of time. There's a lot of dead space too. There's a lot of very slowly moving through things because we have to pad this out to 45 minutes. That does not quite work as well. That's why I'm going to give episode 4 of Moon Knight: The Tomb a B. Like I said, yeah, just a few too many dead spots to try to keep track of everything. Sometimes the mind wanders. So yeah, like I said, definitely I think Moon Knight has taken a huge step up. I don't know how it's going to entirely work overall, but I am looking forward to the next 2 episodes, which we'll be covering obviously in a 2-episode block in a couple of weeks. Alright, so the next video after this is going to be the Impact Wrestling Rebellion pay-per-view review. And then, yeah, I think it's going to be Doctor Strange at that point, isn't it? No. Is it 2 weeks to Doctor... yeah, this whole week has been really hard. I'm sorry. So, the 23rd is Saturday. Alright, so yeah, I think Doctor Strange is the week after that. Never mind. The next video after that will be the random trade review on New Superman Volume 1. See you all next time. Hey guys, remember, you can help support my channel at patreon.com/SleepyTimeForCat Productions, where you can help request a movie, even if it's something like, say, Sonic the Hedgehog or the next Purge film. I'll review it.